As a parent, watching your once full of life teenager transform into somebody who's withdrawn, constantly overwhelmed, and struggling with anxiety or depression is heart wrenching. You've likely consulted multiple healthcare providers, you've tried different approaches, and yet even considered potentially medication, but yet your teen still struggles. What if I told you that the root cause might not be this chemical imbalance model that most conventional doctors continue to blame? Yet these teens are still having issues. The United States is facing an absolute unprecedented mental health crisis among adolescents. According to the CDC, 44% of high school students report persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. And even more alarming is nearly 1 in 3 girls, teenagers, have seriously contemplated suicide, which is twice the rate of boys. Now, conventional medicine typically addresses these challenges with medications, yet not correcting the presumed imbalances with their chemicals in their brain. And yet, many parents find that these medications merely mask the symptoms. They never get to the root cause of why their body's not functioning properly. What if I told you a different perspective? One that is explored more neurologically on why teens have anxiety and depression. And what if I offered you a drug-free approach instead of just more medications, more medications? Would that interest you? This video is for you parents who are exhausted and absolutely heartbroken watching your teenagers struggle with anxiety or depression, especially those who have tried conventional approaches without seeing any lasting results. And what you're searching for answers and looking for the root cause, there's going to be other opportunities outside of medications or supplements that only mask the symptoms. Today we're going to explore how your teen's anxiety and depression may be connected to a neurological imbalance, specifically dysautonomia, subluxation, and vagus nerve dysfunction. You're going to learn why these traditional chemical imbalance models fall short and how modern lifestyles create this perfect storm of how the nervous system gets stressed out. And most importantly, how neurologically focused chiropractic care can help to restore the imbalance and properly align their nervous system. The prevalence of mental health issues among the youth has doubled since 2011 to 2020. Now, this is particularly interesting is that during this very same time, we've seen positive trends for young people. They've reduced alcohol consumption, fewer teen pregnancies, yet anxiety and depression have continued to surge in every demographic. We're going to look at statistics a little bit closer. Female adolescents are more than twice as likely to experience anxiety, 31% versus 12% of men or males. Depression is 25% versus 10%. And these aren't just numbers, they represent real people, real teenagers who are suffering, and families who are struggling to help them, and a generation whose mental well-being is at stake. Many researchers have noted that this sharp rise in teen mental health issues coincide with the widespread adoption of smartphones around 2012, pointing to digital technology as a significant factor. But as we're going to explain, the full picture is much more complex, and it begins earlier in life. You first have to understand teen anxiety and depression from a different model, a neurological perspective. See, conventional medicine typically views anxiety and depression as a chemical imbalance in the brain that needs to be corrected with medication. But this model misses the deeper neurological foundation. You see, from a neurological perspective, these conditions are often connected with an imbalance in the autonomic nervous system, specifically between the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, and the parasympathetic system, which is rest, digest, and restore. This is a parallel that has to be in balance. These neurological imbalances, which is called a dysautonomia, represents a crucial but often overlooked root cause that can leave teens stuck in a persistent state of stress and emotional dysregulation. Now we're going to talk about this critical role of the vagus nerve in the emotional regulation realm. See, the vagus nerve is the primary component of the parasympathetic nervous system, and it plays a crucial role in emotional regulation, stress recovery, and even social connection. This wandering nerve, as they clarified as, connects the brain to vital organs, and it helps to regulate heart rate, breathing, digestion, inflammation, and emotional states. Researchers show that low vagal tone is significantly linked to challenges in managing emotions and a heightened sensitivity to stress. Exactly what we see in teens with anxiety and depression. This is really where you can look at this under a different lens, and you can view it and then manage it very differently. When this vagus nerve dysfunction is compromised due to subluxation and nervous system stress, it's going to affect your teen's ability to calm themselves, process emotions, and maintain a balanced mood state. This then creates what we call this perfect storm, which creates and leads to teen mental health issues. This neurological dysfunction often begins before birth, with maternal stress during pregnancy that creates stress in the developing fetus through hormones that cross this placenta barrier. So if mom is pregnant, and maybe even before she knows she's pregnant, that baby's growing inside. The very first system embryologically to develop is the brain, the spinal cord, which makes up that nervous system. So if mom is stressed out, her hormones are directly coinciding with the hormones of the baby. Then on top of that, if we look at what happens in the United States, birth interventions like forceps, C-sections, these things cause subtle injuries to the upper neck and brainstem regions, and it can potentially affect the vagus nerve, leading to subluxation. Now, subluxation is where there is neurological interference from the vertebrae that protect and house those very important nerves. Birth trauma may not show an immediate sign of injury, but it causes problems through progressing through life. And these are where kids don't grow out of distressors. Like doctors say, they simply evolve. And if that part of the nervous system is affected, that aids in regulation of mood or emotions, it's going to affect kids as they age. Now, there's also early childhood factors that continue to build this foundation for later challenges. Repeated infections, frequent antibiotic use, disrupting the gut-brain axis, environmental toxins, physical injuries. Modern lifestyle factors significantly amplify these neurological imbalances. We're talking about digital technology, sleep disruption, decreased physical exercise, horrible nutrition that most teens are consuming, which directly affects the gut microbiome and then the vagal nerve function. Recognizing these signs of nervous system dysfunction in your teen is very helpful. The physical signs look like very soft indicators: sleep disturbances, appetite changes, digestive imbalances. They get sick all the time, they're fatigued, they're exhausted, they're relentless, oftentimes show that there is a neurological imbalance with how their body performs internally. Now, the emotional indicators such as persistent sadness, excessive worrying, irritability, loss of interest stem from this autonomic nervous system stuck in sympathetic dominance. Now, the behavioral challenges are including like social withdrawal, declined academic performances, increased sensitivity to criticism, oftentimes shows nervous system dysregulation rather than just typical teen behavior. This isn't how God designed teens to thrive. Finally, we have to look into how to identify this root imbalance, because remember, the model of this brain or chemical imbalance, you never see it. You never get to fully understand it. And why doesn't the medication actually correct it, which then creates a balance within that brain system, and then there's no more symptoms? It just doesn't quite make sense. So at Maximize Chiropractic, we use advanced technology called the Insight scans. Now, this scanning technology directly measures nervous system function, and it helps with identifying very specific areas of dysregulation and dysautonomia. I'm going to go over an HRV scan, which is a very important scan analysis for a teenager who has anxiety and depression, or I should say had anxiety and depression. Now, the HRV scan that you're seeing, there's three separate models. Now, just to walk you through this is the very initial HRV scan, which is heart rate variability. Now, on the left side, you see the autonomic nervous system's activity, 0 to 100. Within the autonomic nervous system, there's two branches as discussed before. We have sympathetic fight and flight, parasympathetic rest and digest. Now, the body's designed to be in a perfect balance between both the gas pedal and brake pedal portion of the nervous system, and the body's nervous system is designed to be functioning at 100%. Now, this example right here of a teen who came into the office for anxiety and stress, we show here zone 3, lower than desirable autonomic activity and fully stuck on the gas pedal, sympathetic dominance. The sympathetic nervous system is designed for fight and flight, meaning that it gets you out of harm's way. It creates a plethora of hormones that help with stress. It allows the bloodstream to be moved to the extremities, arms and hands. It changes the visual distortions. It changes breathing. It changes heart rate. This is a very important model to understand, because when somebody comes in on this level, their bodies are not functioning to their full potential. Now, at Maximize Chiropractic, we use this scan interpretation to secondarily create a customized care plan. Now, after about a 4-week period, 4 weeks and some change, we took another set of scans, meaning that through the course of this care, we use reassessments to make sure not just that their symptoms are improving, but the root cause of the imbalance shows change. Now, over that time period and about 14 adjustments, we're seeing an improvement in not just the autonomic activity, but more importantly, the balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic function. We take another set of scans about 6 weeks later, and what do we see again? Another elevation of HRV activity. Secondly, we see an improvement in this balance, and now they're residing within the green zone. Now, what this means is that the green zone is within normal clinical relevance. There is going to be a little bit of adaptability within each person's body. But what HRV is so important to show is how well the autonomic nervous system's performing. And that performance is so crucially important to make sure that the body is adapting appropriately to stress. And really, anxiety and depression are the inability of adaptability. If the body can't adapt to its environment, it stresses the body out. And then from there, traditional healthcare providers diagnose and label versus looking at individual traits, nor do they look at the root cause of this problem. Simply put, it's not easy being a teen in today's crazy world. Now, thankfully, they have a remarkable ability to bounce back and become resilient. They can be adaptable and they can be joyful once again. The teen's brain and nervous system is going through a lot of changes and challenges at once, and they get stuck in the sympathetic stress, tension, subluxation, exhaustion, and it really challenges healing and recovery. The good news is that at Maximize Chiropractic, I've helped so many teens and children struggle with anxiety and depression, who I see then thrive once again. And this is all without the dangerous drugs and medications that are offered by traditional doctors. Now, it's not because I treat or I cure anxiety. No. What happens is that we address the fundamental root cause, the nervous system stress, the dysregulation, and the body's imbalances. Once the body is back into a balanced state, the body can adapt, and the body can actually resume life without all the negative attributes inside. Parents often tell me that they have felt renowned and that they see hope again by learning about the nervous system and drug-free approach to healing. They've really discovered that there's a different path that they can take, one that doesn't just rely on dangerous medications or long-term side effects, but instead focuses on restoring proper function within the body to all systems that aid in mood, stress, and emotional regulation. If your teen is struggling with anxiety or depression, it is very likely that their nervous system is imbalanced and dysregulated. And if you're interested in finding out more, click on the link below, and we look forward to serving you and your family.